Someone in the group chat hearts every message. The funny one, the boring one, the thumbs up. Then they reach yours and leave it on red. Nothing happened. No one was cruel. A little gray checkmark just sat there. And 3 hours later, you are in the shower, building the case for the prosecution. Why mine? What did I say? Or maybe it is 4 words from a stranger with a cartoon frog for a face, and you are still drafting the perfect reply at midnight. And the voice arrives right on cue, the one you have heard your whole life. It was nothing. Why are you like this? Just let it go. So let me say this right up front. There is nothing wrong with you. There is something very old that is very right. You are not too sensitive, not dramatic, not broken. The reason you cannot just let it go is that the part of your brain reacting does not think it is nothing. It thinks your life is on the line. And for almost all of human history, it was completely correct. This is the story of why a slight too small to describe can flood your whole body and steal your whole afternoon. And what that alarm is actually protecting is stranger and older than you would ever guess. To understand the heat in your face, we have to go back. A long, long way back. Long before group chats, before strangers were even a thing your brain expected to meet. Picture your ancestors in a small band on the open grassland. And feel this first, in your bones. There was no one new. You lived your whole life inside one band, maybe 150 faces, and that was the entire world. The same people who fed you, defended you, and raised your children. No leaving. No strangers to start over with. Just these faces, forever. And inside that world, your reputation was not vanity. Your reputation was infrastructure. Where you stood in the eyes of the group decided who shared meat with you in the lean weeks, when your own children were hungry. It decided who stood between you and danger. It decided whether your line continued at all. So a public slight was never just a bad feeling. It was your rank being challenged, out loud, in front of everyone whose opinion fed your kids. And the disrespected, the ones nobody defended, got pushed toward the edge. And the edge meant exile. And exile, out there, alone, meant death. So think what that did over thousands of generations. The ancestor who shrugged off disrespect, who truly did not care what the band thought, slowly lost standing, protection, mates. But the one who felt a slight like a slap, hot and urgent and impossible to ignore, who could not rest until they fixed their standing, that one survived. That one had kids. And those kids are us. So let me say the line plainly. We are the children of the touchy ones. Every one of us is descended from people who could not let a slight go, the ones who could never become anybody's ancestor. So you inherited their alarm, flawless and intact. But here is the catch. The world it was built to read just vanished. So take that instrument, 200,000 years old, calibrated perfectly for 150 permanent faces who held your life in their hands, and drop it, unchanged, into the year 2026. Because here is what it has to deal with now. Instead of 150 faces it will know forever, it processes thousands of near strangers a week. Feeds full of people you will never meet. Comments from accounts with no name. A flat tone, a slow reply, a left-on read. And the old alarm does the only thing it knows. It pings every single one of them as if they were a band, as if your survival depended on it. And then comes the cruel inversion, the part that is almost funny if it were not so exhausting. Back then, a slight could genuinely cost you your life. Today, almost no slight can cost you anything at all. The stranger with the frog avatar cannot exile you. The group chat is not the tribe. But the alarm does not know that, so it fires at full ancestral volume, the volume it used when your life was at stake, over a gray checkmark. And here is the part that really is not fair. A culture that prizes being chill, unbothered, above it all, does not explain this gap to you. It just hands you a label. Too sensitive, dramatic, thin-skinned. So you carry two wounds where there should be zero. The sting itself, and then the shame about the sting. And neither is your fault. But that is the story. What the labs find when they put this under a scanner is stranger than the story. So here is what everyone gets backwards. They think the fix is to care less, but the science says the opposite. The problem was never that you feel too much. It is that your gauge is reading a world that is no longer there. And once you see what that gauge actually is, the shame starts to fall away. Start with what the hurt even is. In 1995, the psychologist Mark Leary, with Ellen Tambor, Sonia Turdahl, and Deborah Downs, in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, laid out what became a leading account of self-esteem. He called it sociometer theory, and it is beautifully simple. Your self-esteem is not really about you. It is a gauge, and it measures how much the people around you seem to value and accept you. So that drop in your stomach when you are slighted is the needle moving, a fuel gauge for belonging, doing its job. Your hurt feelings are not weakness. They are a dashboard light, and it is working. Then, how real that hurt is. In 2003, Naomi Eisenberger, Matthew Lieberman, and Kipling Williams at UCLA in the journal Science put people in a scanner to play an online ball toss game, then had the other players freeze them out. A region called the dorsal anterior cingulate lit up, part of the same circuitry that generates the distress of physical pain. The more it lit, the more hurt people reported. So when you say being left out hurt, that was never only a metaphor. And it is fast. The same Kipling Williams, with Christopher Chung and Wilma Choi in 2000, in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, ran it with huge numbers, and the sting hit in the first few seconds. It stung even when people were told in advance that the other player was just a computer. That is how fast and how dumb the alarm is. It just fires. Honest note, these are modest studies, and the sting fades. Not a broken arm, but a shared alarm worth taking seriously. And then, what happens in your blood? In 1996, Dove Cohen and Richard Nisbett, with Brian Bodel and Norbert Schwartz at the University of Michigan, again in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, had a stranger bump into men in a hallway and mutter an insult. In men raised where reputation is paramount, that one muttered word sent cortisol, the stress hormone, up by roughly 79%. Testosterone climbed too, priming them to defend their standing. An insult to your reputation is not just a feeling, it is a measurable event in your bloodstream. One caveat, that was a specific group of men, raised a specific way. But when standing is on the line, the body treats it as chemistry, not drama. So getting offended easily is not a character flaw. It is a fast, ancient, exquisitely sensitive survival system, doing what it evolved to do. It is not a glitch. It is a sensor. But a sensor you cannot switch off is its own problem. So here is what you do with an alarm that is right about the past and wrong about right now. Okay, deep breath. Because I do not want you to walk away with the wrong lesson. So let me draw a very clear line, because this part matters. None of this means the slight did not happen. None of this means you should swallow real mistreatment or smile through contempt. Some slights are not small. Some disrespect is genuine, and naming it is the right thing to do, not the sensitive thing. And for some people, rejection is genuinely dangerous, and their alarm is not misfiring at all. It is reading the room correctly. What this lifts is the shame about the reaction, not your right to take real harm seriously. So, what do you actually do with it? You do not try to win an argument with your own nervous system. You will lose, every time. Instead, you name the gauge. The next time your ears go hot over a tiny correction, you say quietly to yourself, "That is my reputation monitor, calibrated for a band of 150, firing in a room where my standing is actually fine." And naming it gives you what the alarm never had on its own: a half-second of distance, a little gap between the sting and the spiral. Because here is the truth I want you to keep. That hot-faced feeling when someone slights you is not you being weak. It is a reputation alarm so old it kept your ancestors alive, back when one public slight really could end you. It cannot tell that the group chat is not the tribe, that your standing today is safe. So when a voice calls you too sensitive, you can answer it honestly. I am not too sensitive. I am carrying a survival instrument in a world that, for once, is gentle enough that I do not need it. So go easy on the touchy one inside you. It is loyal, and it is old, and it has been on watch your whole life. You can thank it now, and tell it that this time you are safe. You are not too sensitive. You are exquisitely well calibrated for a world that does not exist anymore. So send this to two people. Send it to the person who keeps calling you too sensitive, and send it to the one who keeps calling themselves it. Tell them both the same thing. There was never anything wrong with them. There was only something very old that was very right.